there! Today I'm talking about 3 movies, and their titles are Beast, Save Yourselves, and Super Dark Times. It's gonna be a real good time. Probably. Yeah. Well, first up is Beast. This is a 2018 British movie starring Jessie Buckley. She's actually the whole reason I watched it, because I love her in Chernobyl and the 4th season of Fargo, as well as I'm thinking of Ending Things and some other stuff. So yeah, I wanted to see her more stuff, and she's great. She's only 8 months older than me. That's so crazy. She's so talented. She does amazing in this. The basic premise, it's a little hard to say. It's a psychological thriller. And I remember being like halfway through the movie and I was like, how do I describe what's happening in this movie? Because it's not like nothing's happening. There's a lot happening, but it's hard to put into words without just watching the movie. Basically, Jessie meets a boy and then stuff happens. And it's thriller-esque. And maybe like there's some murdery stuff kind of happening in the background. And maybe that's important, maybe it's not important. You know if you've seen the movie. But yeah, I really, really like this movie. The 2 main actors did so great. I forgot the other dude's name, but Jessie was definitely a big standout. I hope her career just keeps going up because she is so fantastic. There was my favorite scene with her, like just to show off her performance ability, was one where she was having like this breakdown, but it was really just like she had like a chin quiver that was just, it was just that moving, and I was like, how are you doing this? How are you like so controlling your face and stuff? It was great. She was amazing. I definitely recommend this movie. I mean, if you want to watch, a really good psychological thriller. Also, especially if you like this actress, you should definitely like Jessie Buckley. I keep wanting to say Jessie Plemons. She is not Jessie Plemons. They look nothing alike. But yeah. So yeah, it's really good. Really liked it. It was good fun times. It's really good. But yeah, recommend the hell out of it. So yeah, it's good fun times. Next up is Save Yourselves! This is a 2020 movie that was heavily advertised to me, but I wasn't sure if it'd be worth it to spend $20 on it, so I didn't. I waited till now, where it's available on one of the streaming services. And it stars these 2 people. The basic premise is that these 2 are a couple, hipster couple, and it's them basically just trying to figure out what they want to do next in their life. They're happy, they're content, but they want to, what are we doing with our lives? What are our lives all about? Where do we go from here? Also, there is a sci-fi twist that I'll talk about a bit later, but it's mostly about that, what I just said. It's about them figuring out themselves, essentially. But yeah, it was pretty dang good. I had it in the really liked category for most of the movie until the very end of the movie, and again, I'll talk about that later. But what really kept it in the really liked category is the 2 main actors. They had great chemistry. You really bought them as a couple. They were adorable and just fun to see them, even like when they kind of fought a little bit. It was fun to see how they kind of dealt with everything. And I really like the premise too, because it's just like, it's people around my age who are, hipster like people, and just kind of, just what's next in life. And it's like, yeah, that's what I've been all about, like those last several years. I have no idea where I'm going with myself. And it's like, they have no idea where they're going with themselves. And I'm like, great, cool, we're in the same boat. Jumping now to the sci-fi element of this, I think they made it work really, really well. I kind of struggle with wanting to say what it is, the sci-fi twist to the movie, just because it doesn't actually happen until halfway through the movie. It still works, and everything before it is still great. It's just like, I don't want to spoil something that doesn't happen until halfway through the movie. I will, though, say what the sci-fi twist is, because I don't think it really deters from your experience in the movie. So essentially, it's this couple. They decide they want to go to a cabin in the middle of nowhere and disconnect from the world, turn off their phones and their laptops. And then while they're away on this little trip, the world starts to end. So going off of that, though, I'm going to jump to what I didn't like about the movie. So again, this movie wasn't really liked the entire time I was watching it until the end of the movie, because the end of the movie, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but the movie just kind of stops. Something happens, but it's just kind of like, and then they roll credits. And it didn't work. And then I was like trying to like figure out what that even meant. I went to some discussion threads, and then I found an interview with the co-directors / co-writers of the movie. It's a couple, where they kind of explain it. And I'm not gonna say what they said, but just kind of vaguely, in that like it kind of mirrors / bookends the beginning of the movie. And while thinking about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see that now, but like this required you to explain that to me, and I get the metaphor, but it's just like I'm not gonna get it just on its own, just seeing that happen. And so that was it brought it down a notch, is what I'm trying to say. And then also with some of the sci-fi stuff, they decided to not really explain a ton of it, which is totally fine. You don't have to explain like all of the sci-fi things in your sci-fi movie. I definitely agree that too many sci-fi movies over-explain stuff just because like the writers have it in their head, so they needed to get it on the page, but you don't always need it. But because the ending just didn't work, I think explaining more of the stuff could have helped alleviate the ending, but it's just, I don't know. But don't get me wrong, I'm not like really downing on this movie. I still quite liked it, which is my second highest category. It's really liked and quite liked. It's just, I don't know, when you're enjoying something so much and then just like something just clicks in the wrong direction, it's just kind of like all you can kind of focus on. But again, I do think this movie is worth checking out if you're intrigued by it. If you want good sci-fi hipstery stuff, this is definitely something that's worth your time. Just be prepared, for maybe not the most satisfying of endings. And lastly is Super Dark Times. This is a 2017 movie starring a bunch of young actors who I'm not going to even bother putting their faces up here. And the basic premise is that it's about a group of teenagers really just living their lives. Well, then like some kind of dark stuff kind of creeps in. And yeah, it was pretty good. My first thought at the end of it was like, okay, does this movie live up to the title of Super Dark Times? And I would say for the most part. The first scene is pretty dark, kind of weird, but pretty dark. And then like the inciting incident that happens later is pretty dark. And then it kind of goes a little bit away from the dark stuff, kind of. And for a while, it kind of focuses more on like a romantic subplot, which I actually really, really liked. And at times I was like, oh, man, I kind of wish there wasn't all this dark stuff. I wish we kind of just had this fun romance stuff instead. And then it came back at the end and mostly earned the title of Super Dark Times. Except the epilogue was a little weird. I don't know exactly what to make of it. But then going off of that, so I ended up putting this movie in the quite like section, but then like when I was reading some discussion threads about it, some people were talking about like this theory that, I'm not gonna say what it was. If you've seen the movie, I'll tell you, but if you haven't, I'm not gonna spoil it here. Essentially though, it's one of the characters might not be who they seem to be, and I don't think there's like, the way they talked about it, I was like, okay, I could totally see that being the case, and if that's the case, this movie is great and I really like it. But on first viewing, I didn't pick up on that, so I don't know if it's really, that theory holds any water. So I'd have to watch it a second time to see if it really does. And if it does, then I definitely really like this movie. But because I didn't notice it, I just put it in the quite like category instead. If you want to watch some kids do some kind of super dark stuff in the 90s, I guess it might have been kind of inspired by Stranger Things. I kind of got that vibe a little bit at times, even though the theme of 90s wasn't super prevalent. I think they more so just didn't want cell phones to be a thing, so they're just like, 90s. But yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Alrighty, that's it for today. So, final rankings are Beast is sitting at number 3 in the really liked category. And then Save Yourselves is at number 6 in the quite liked category. And then Super Dark Times is at number 9, also in the quite liked category. So yeah, it was a good couple of days. I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah.